Hello and welcome to Lesson 2 of the Learning Scratch series. Today I just started out with this little line of code and this little cat. From the last video we can probably guess what this does, just so when you press the green button you can move the cat any direction at the same time. You can move it diagonal, up, down, anywhere, and it can't go past. That's just what Scratch does. You can't go past the screen. And then when you click the red button and then you click the green button again, it'll reset it back to its original position using this. So right now I'm just going to go over just the forever statements and control variables and like the repeating or the waiting or anything like that. So if you're going to be using movement, of course you could just use the ones that are just like when the key press space, you can do whatever, but it only allows you to do it one at a time. And putting in a forever statement like this with the ifs, it's just so much better. It allows for so much more movement. It's way better. And also, if you use like this, like a repeat 10, it's just you have to use a forever statement. So everything inside of this will be repeated 10 times, and then it's not going to be repeated ever again. So let's just do that for a second. Here, let's do it repeat 20 times. Alright, so you put it in, you press the green button, and you see, it doesn't work. I'm pressing my keys here, you can probably hear that. And it's not doing anything because the computer only did it 20 times. So it registered it as 20 times, and 20 times for a computer is really fast. It's like milliseconds. It goes really fast. And so if you only repeat it 20 times, it's nothing. But let's just say you repeat it like 500 times. Let's do that. You see, it still doesn't work. I'm clicking my keys. It's gone in an instant. And so essentially repeating like this is only good if you're not going to use it for movement or like something like movement that you're going to have to be using the whole entire game or the whole entire time. Like movement is essential because you want to be able to use it, essentially forever. But other things, like if you're let's just say you want to draw something and you want to repeat that drawing 5 times. That would be good because you can repeat it like 10 or 5 times and then it'll be done. Whereas if you put a drawing in a forever statement, like for looks or like whatever, then it'll draw it forever, and that's not as good. Okay, so let's go over variables again. I didn't really explain it that much in my last video, and variables are a very important part, so let's just get it done with. So let's just say we can do make a variable, and whatever variable we want that to be. So let's just say for the variable we want the cat to say something in say a number, like a random number. So let's just call it number. And since it's just for the cat, we can do it for this sprite only, but you could also do it for all sprites. But let's make that. So then you bring it over here, and you can do it as in when you start, set my variable or number to 0. And also another thing you can do is with this, this little thing pops up, sprite1 number 0. That's just a variable. But if you don't want it, you could just do hide variable, because when you do it set, it's that. So you can do hide variable number, and when you press the green flag, it's gone because you probably just don't want to see it. Things like score or health in games, you do want to see it, but you could just put it on to looks and make it say I have 10 health, or you can put it in text up above. It doesn't have to be shown, but if you don't want to show it, that's fine. Okay, so right when you make the variable, it's already made. You don't really have to do anything to it. I'm just going to keep this here if I want to duplicate it or if I want to do anything else to it. So I can just carry it around. It's not going to affect anything if it's just lying around. The only thing that affects what's happening in the game is this statement right here, anything with the events. Okay, so now that we've set the variable and we've hidden it, we could do in the forever statement right here, let's just say if we only want the cat to say a random number, we can do control, we put the F, and we don't want this to be a random number in the forever statement. or else he'll just be saying a random number forever. So there'll be text coming from his mouth, but it'll just be a randomly changing number just forever. And we don't want that to happen. So we can do like control if then, let's just say if key space is pressed. Then we can go down to variables. We can do set my variable or number. And then if you go to operators, operators is kind of like math, but it really helps. Like you can do the and or you can say like if you wanted to do something like, okay, so if my number is equal to like 3 and it's equal to the other variable is equal to 2, then you can do something. It's pretty good, but what we're here for is to pick random number 1 to 10. Or you can change it to be whatever you want. Let's just say pick random number, and let's go from 1 to, let's say 25. So now you say set random number 1 to 25. And also if you want, you can make them a wait. So you can do wait, and we can do another variable. You don't have to do the wait, but just for the purposes of this, I wanted to demonstrate what wait is. So we can do make another variable. We can label that wait just for this sprite. So now we have wait. And so we have number and we have wait. And from here we have to just start it off again. Set wait to 0 if you wanted it to be. Then in here, key pressed space, we can do set wait to another random number. And since we don't want it to wait that long, we can do 5. And then we can do wait, and then bring it here. Let's duplicate that to random wait seconds. So whatever this picks, it's going to wait that amount of time. Then we go up here to looks. And looks is pretty good. It doesn't affect that much in the game, but looks does is like you can say things, you can think, you can switch costumes, backdrops, change things. It's all like it says from the looks of what everything looks like. So what we want to do is we can do say. And now this is a good thing because we can also do you can also say it for wait. So for the wait, you can do duplicate, and then so he says this for the amount of time he waited, or you can just set it to any number you want. But I'm going to do it for wait because that's just kind of fun. Now you can do say, and we want him to say that random number. So you duplicate that, and you bring it down here, so he says that random number. And then here you also have to turn off its hide. So hide, wait, there we go, it's hidden. So now what you want to do is when you press this, you can move the cat around. But when you press the space bar, he waits a little bit, and it says 17. If you press the space bar again, let's see, 15. Let's see, that's pretty cool. You see, he's probably doing it for 5 seconds. And now you press it again, he's waiting 13. So it's kind of fun. You can make it say random things. And also it's beneficial if you are making a game and you wanted there to be a random outcome. So let's just say if the cat were to die and you wanted it to have a special dying animation and you had 5 to choose from, you can do set any variable you want, but dying animation, and you can set it to a random number, and whenever that random number is picked, let's just say if random number 1 is picked, then the cat will explode, or if 2 is picked, he will fall off a cliff or something. I'm not saying that as in real life, just in the game. Just whatever you want it to make it. Okay, here I've made a new project, and I'm just going to demonstrate a quick little game. I'm going to call it Bounce Ball. Okay, this is what I've gotten so far in Bounce Ball. When you click the green button, see the ball or start bouncing and randomly. You see, whenever it hits the paddle or the walls, it'll bounce off. And each time it hits the paddle, the score goes up, and you use the arrow keys to move the paddle. And when you get to a score of 10, you win. I'll just show you what happens when you don't hit the paddle. See, when you don't hit the paddle, you die. Because it just hits the bottom and you died. It's pretty fun. Okay, now I'm going to go over the code. As you can see, most of the code is on the ball, because the ball is the thing that's doing most of the work. It's bouncing off of the walls, bouncing off of the paddle, and it's also registering whether it's getting a point or not. And when you click onto the paddle, there's really not that much code. It's when the arrows are pressed, it's moving right or left, and it's registering whether it's going to go off the screen or not, because you have to want to keep it on the screen. Okay, so going back to the ball, here we have everything that's just resetting it. So you have to reset the score to 0, you have to show it, because this is an important part, because here it says hide, and hide because when you die, they disappear. And so you have to put it back to show, so then they actually are shown. And you have to switch the backdrop back to the original backdrop, point it in the direction you want, make it go to the coordinates you want, and everything. Also, speaking of coordinates, it's pretty easy to remember, but X, as you can see down here where my cursor is, X is left to right, and going right increases your X coordinate. Going left decreases your X coordinate. Going up increases your Y, and going down decreases your Y. It's pretty easy to remember. It's not that hard, but it's very fundamental when you're working with coordinates. And this little block of code here is, picking the random direction it's going to be pointing, picking the speed, and all of that. This wait is here just so the player can have a little bit of time to register what's happening before the game actually starts. So here, yet again, I have a forever statement, so it's registering this forever. And here's the move statement with the speed variable. So the speed is just a random variable, and so it will go at a random speed. It does matter which order you put the if statements in, because if you put the if, touching the bottom, then it dies first. Then it'll only register that first before it registers touching the paddle, and it'll die first, and then you never actually got a chance to bump off the paddle. It's a little bit confusing, but I'll go over it in a future video. So here from this piece of code, if touching paddle, when it bounces off the paddle, you can't do this one over here, if on edge bounce, because that already does all of this for you, but it's not on an edge, it's bouncing off the paddle, so you have to put this in so it simulates bouncing off the paddle. And also, when you touch the paddle, you want the score to change by 1, so it goes up. Over here, if touching edge, first you want to register if it's on this bottom edge, and if it is touching this bottom edge, you need to switch it to the backdrop 2, which is the you died backdrop, hide broadcast message 1, and when you receive message 1, you hide and it stops all. And also, the other part is if touching edge. Well then, if you're on an edge, you'll just bounce off the edge, if it's on any of these ones. The last part is just if the score equals 10, it's just like the you win, so switch to backdrop 3, which is the you win backdrop. It'll hide, broadcast the same message 1, which hides this, stops all, and it'll go on to the you win screen. Alright, that's all for Bounce Ball. I might change it a little bit. I'll definitely add it to the studio so you guys can see, maybe remix it, or just look at it for yourself. Alright, thank you for watching. Don't forget to follow me and to follow our studio.